People throw out that word genocide, and I see it as a trope because genocide has a very specific definition, which I hope my colleague will agree with in a moment, which is that you must prove absolute intent. That is the main thing, that the only intent of doing what you're doing militarily is to wipe out either a race, a nationality, a religion, or a racial group. And in fact, in two of the most egregious cases in history, Piers, in Darfur, Sudan was not even charged, if you could believe it, with genocide. Because one of the things the UN actually said was there may have been other, as crazy as it sounds, there may have been other reasons why 300,000 people were massacred in Sudan. And another case was Serbia, Bosnia versus Serbia. Same kind of situation where Serbia was actually not prosecuted. In fact, Piers, no country in the history of the world has been actually found liable for genocide. Israel would be the first ever. So you would have to tell me that Israel is the worst of all the cases that have ever occurred. And let me just finish this. I'll finish quickly here in terms of Serbia and Bosnia. The International Court of Justice said in Bosnia versus Serbia that we're reticent. We're not going to, we can't find genocide here because the only possible inference from military action has to be that genocide was the only goal of the military action. And clearly that's not, I hope I'll get a chance to talk about this more in a second. Clearly that's not the case in Israel. There's a lot of motivations going on with Israel.
Professor Lax, thank you. I will come back to you. Professor Shavas, the argument from Netanyahu and others on the Israeli side is quite straightforward. They say they have the military capability and the firepower that if their intention was to wage genocide in Gaza, they could have done that instantaneously and blown the whole place to pieces in a few days. That is the argument. What is your response to that argument?
Yes, well, let me start by saying I've been studying this Genocide Convention, which is the issue here, for more than 30 years. I've taught it. I've written a book on the subject. I've written countless journal articles. I've read every judgment of the international courts and tribunals multiple times. I've read all of the debates when the convention was being adopted. This argument that we hear, which is that they could have killed more people, they had the opportunity to kill everybody or many more people, and they haven't done it. And so therefore, how could they be genocidal? Doesn't correspond to what the judges have said. So Jeffrey Lax has just mentioned the famous judgment of the International Court of Justice in 2007. They didn't say that genocide didn't take place. They agreed that genocide had taken place at Srebrenica, where there was this notorious massacre in 1995 over the space of 3 or 4 days in July. And when that took place, there were 7,000 or 8,000 Bosnian Serbs who were murdered by the, not Bosnian Serbs, Muslims rather, Bosniaks, by the Bosnian Serbs. And and the women and children were taken to safety. Now, nobody there suggested credibly that couldn't be genocide because they took people away, they saved people, there were people they didn't kill. They had the opportunity to do that. We know that even during the Holocaust, so I'm not a historian, I'm a lawyer, but I know lots about the Holocaust. I come from a family of Holocaust survivors. I had a great aunt who survived the Second World War in Berlin. So the Nazis didn't kill everybody. They were prepared to make deals, for example, to trade Jews. They tried to do it with the Hungarian Jews, to trade them for military materiel. Didn't work out. But, it's a mixed, confused situation when genocide takes place. And this argument that they could kill more people, so it can't be genocide because they're missing that opportunity. It just, first of all, I find it to be wrong, morally wrong as an argument. But more than that, it's been rejected by the courts. It's not an argument that the courts accept. So when I make conclusions about this, I'm doing it as a legal scholar who studied these judgments. I'm trying to understand where this case of South Africa is going to go. What's going to happen? What are the judges likely to do? That's really what we should be addressing, rather than throwing around the term genocide and saying, well, do I think it's a genocide? No, it is. No, it isn't. We have to be looking at